ביאור משנה ג', explanation for משנה ג'. כבר הזכרנו, we already mentioned, שאם אחד מדיירי החצר לא יירב עם שאר הדיירים. We have a case where we have a bunch of houses that share a courtyard. There's a bunch of houses that share a courtyard. What happened if one of those people says he forgot to do an Eruv? He didn't put his food together with everybody else. הרי הוא אוסר עליהם להוציא מבתיהם לחצר או להכניס מהחצר לבתיהם. Now nobody can use the courtyard. Since he owns part of the courtyard, yeah, and he didn't make a shituf, they're not all sharing it. Now he has his, it's not one domain. What do you do by putting the bread in one house? Yeah, you're saying we all live over there. It's all belong to us. We're all sharing this one place. In other words,
I don't understand why each one has to do it. Why once they agree and then one put the food and they know all this food is for us. Why each one of them has to do it?
Each one has to share in the meal. Each one has to say that I'm going to be eating in that house. If you don't say I'm eating in that house, it's yeah.
Okay.
So they all have to
do it.
To put it in, like they say. But so he forgot. So there's still a way out. What can he do? אם ביטל להם רשות ביתו ורשות חצרו. He says, guys, you know what? On Shabbat, on this Shabbat, my property doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you. I give you my property for Shabbat.
Belong to the community.
That's right. I give my community my property to you. כולם מותרים להוציא ולהכניס מן הבתים לחצר ומחצר לבתים. Now everybody is allowed to use everything. Now, what about him? Also him, as we will see soon. שהואיל וזה שלא עירב ביטול כל רשותו, because he said, my possession is not mine, in other words, it belongs to them. So he's not taking it from his place to their place. He's taking it from their place to their place. Yeah? It's not his anymore. שם הרי הוא כאורח אצל שאר בני החצר. He's living in his house, but he's a guest. Because it's not his house. He said it belongs to them. והאורח אינו אוסר, and since he's a guest, he doesn't forbid. But the problem is that people were afraid to do that. They didn't used to do that. What was in the mind? Says, what do you mean? My house is mine. If you want, you can take the yard. My place in the yard I give to you. Yeah, my place in the yard I give to you, but I'm not giving it to you. My house is mine. What do you mean? Even if it's just going to say it's yours, it means anybody can come over here whenever they want and legally during Shabbat can come into my house, do whatever they want. It's not even mine. I can't even kick you out. I'm not willing to do that. So what happens? So this is what happens in this case. That's what we're going to discuss. אם ביטל להם רשותו שבחצר בלבד, if he only gave them the yard at all, על כך דנה משנתנו. This is what our Mishnah is going to discuss. In other words, the house he keeps for himself, but he says, the common area, I give you my space. It's not mine anymore.
Now this common area, it doesn't have a fence. That's why they have to do it. Because if it had a fence, no, you have to still do that Eruv.
Sure. The fence has nothing to do with it.
So I have to do it in my house too? Or just when few people live together, they have to do it?
Yeah, you have to do it in your house too.
In my house?
What do you mean, in the house itself, with your family?
Outside, to take food outside to the chatzer?
Yes.
I have to do it?
If you're sharing a courtyard with your brother, you do have to do it. Are you sharing a courtyard with your brother?
Not at the moment, but maybe later on.
So if you have a shared courtyard, you have to do it. You know
so
how.
What do? You take the food, you put it outside?
So here's an example. Take a common example. People who live in a building. Right? In a building. So they have common areas that belongs to everybody in that building. They're not allowed to take from their house to the common areas unless all the guys in all the houses, right, say to the super, here, take some bread. They all give him some bread. They all buy bread. They don't need all to take him to some bread. They go to buy a matzah box it costs $5. Each one gives 50 cents, 20 cents.
They share.
They share the matzah. He says,
They share.
here, this is our food. It's in your house. We can come and eat whenever we want. That's it. So now we're saying to the super, in other words, you on Shabbat, that's where everybody lives, in your house. And now the whole house belongs to the super. So now everybody can come and join that meal. So it belongs to everybody. That's what you do.
And this is the rule, just to take food outside of your house.
Not
somewhere.
food, anything.
Anything.
To
if
carry.
You want to carry.
If you want to carry. Anything, yeah.
Wow.
So, Anshei Chatzer. Again, think about it. There's a houses around, and they share a common yard. ששכח אחד מהם ולא עירב. One of them forget, he didn't make an Eruv. עירובי חצרות עם שאר אנשי החצר. He didn't give food, he forgot. ומבואר בגמרא, and it says in the Gemara, שמדובר כאן בחגון שהשוכח ביטל את רשותו שבחצר. And now he says, guys, I don't want you to get stuck now. You know, now you get stuck, nobody can carry into the courtyard. So on Shabbat, the guy says, it's yours. I don't have any share in it. That's what he says. I don't have any share in the courtyard. אבל לא אמר שהוא מבטל להם אף את רשות ביתו. But it says, but I'm not giving away my house. I'm just giving away my courtyard. My share in the courtyard, not my house. Now, the share in the courtyard is very strange. Because the house is 100% yours. The share in the courtyard, every inch, every millimeter belongs to everybody. You get it? So once they can't use any. It's not like they can say, you know what, we can use 95%, we can't use his 5%. No, because every inch belongs to everybody. וסובר התנא, and the Tana holds, שהמבטל רשות חצרו, that the person who nullifies the courtyard, רשות ביתו לא ביטל. He didn't nullify the Rishut Bito. There are some people that says that once you say the courtyard is yours, you also say, my house is yours. But the Tana says no. We're going to do the opinion that the guy says if he needs to specifically say his house. It's not enough to say your courtyard. Okay. לפיכך, so let's look at what happens in such a case. ביתו אסור מלהכניס ומלהוציא. His house, you cannot take out and in from his house. להכניס מן החצר לביתו, to bring in from the courtyard to his house, ולהוציא ממנו לחצר, to take from his house to the courtyard. Who is not allowed? Nobody is allowed. Because this is a private domain. This is a domain that belongs only to him, and this belongs to everybody. So nobody is allowed to take from his place to the courtyard. The courtyard now belongs to everybody. Until today, it used to belong to him also. But now he said it's not mine anymore.
So they cannot take the food from their house to the courtyard?
They're allowed from their house, from his house. Nobody is allowed to take from his house to the courtyard. Not him and not them.
Right, okay.
לזה שלא עירב, who's forbidden? The one who did not make an Eruv, ולאנשי החצר האחרים שירבו ביניהם, and all the other people that made an Eruv between them. שהואיל ולא בטל להם את רשות ביתו, because his house still belongs to him, it still belongs to him, כי אם רשותו שבחצר בלבד, he only nullified the courtyard. נמצא ביתו רשותו מיוחדת לו, so his house only belongs to him. והחצר רשות מיוחדת להם, and the courtyard only belongs to them. But let's look at the other one. What about all the courtyards? All the houses, ושלהם, all the other houses. אבל הבתים שלהם, but the other houses, מותרים לו ולהם. He's allowed to go into any house and take from their house to the courtyard. Why? Why is he allowed to take from their house? Because he's a guest by them. It's like I'm coming to your house, I'm allowed to take from your house to your courtyard. It's the same thing. You know, he's a guest by them, so it comes out very funny. From his house he cannot take. From their house he's allowed to take. שכיוון שביטל להם רשותו שבחצר, since he nullified his place in the courtyard, נעשו בתיהם עם החצר על ידי העירוב כרשות אחת. Now all their houses and the courtyard is one domain. והוא עצמו הרי הוא קורח אצלם, and he's a guest by them. ואורח מטלטל בכל רשותו של בעל האכסניה. And as a guest, you're allowed to use the property of the place that you're staying with. הילקח, גם הוא וגם הם מותרים להוציא לחצר. Therefore, him and there are allowed to take and put from their courtyard לחצר מבתיהם, to their houses and back and forth, של אנשי החצר שירבו ולהכניס מן החצר לבתיהם. So everybody is allowed to take from their courtyard to their houses, or from their house to the courtyard, except his house is under the picture. But even he is allowed to use everybody else's houses. Okay. What happens if they do the opposite? What did they do? נתנו לו רשותן. It says, they say, okay, let's do it the opposite way. It says, instead of you nullifying the courtyard to us, we're going to nullify the courtyard to you. Let's see. Well, that's what it said. Let's see what happens. So what happens?
To one guy.
The one guy, yeah. We're going to nullify the courtyard to you. In other words, we don't belong in the courtyard, only you now on the courtyard. So what happens then? אם אנשי החצר שירבו ביטלו לו את רשותם שבחצר. They did it the opposite way.
Oh.
Yeah? They did it the opposite way. הוא מותר להכניס ולהוציא מביתו לחצר. Now everything belongs to him. The courtyard and his house belongs to him. That's one domain. So he's allowed to move in and out. שהכל כרשותו. And you can say they're guests. So they also will be allowed to move maybe from his house to his courtyard. Let's see. אבל לא מבתיהם. But they did not give up their property. Their houses they did not give up. שהרי לא ביטלו לו אלא רשותם שבחצר בלבד. So everybody will be allowed to use his courtyard. And you will ask, why would you do that, such a thing? Because it doesn't make sense. It does make sense. Because let's say the guy that forgot is the guy that everybody is going to stay with tomorrow. He is the big marcher, and everybody is going to have a big party over there tomorrow. So it says, we don't need to carry to the courtyard, but he will need, he's going to need to carry to the courtyard. So we might as well nullify us to him than him to us. Okay. והן אסורים להכניס ולהוציא מבתיהם, and they are forbidden to go in and out from their houses, and here comes the caveat. So you're saying, but they will be allowed to use his house to his courtyard. He says, no, we're going to forbid them. Let's see why. ואפילו מביתו אסורים הם להוציא. Even from his house, they're not allowed to go to the courtyard. And like Arya says, why? It's on one domain. ואין אנו אומרים שהם כאורחים אצלו. We cannot say that everybody is guests. Why? שיחיד נחשב כאורח אצל רבים, because a single person can be found a guest in the courtyard of many, אבל אין רבים נחשבים כאורחים אצל יחיד. But you cannot have 50 guys are guests at one person. We don't say, you can say a single person can be a guest in the courtyard of many people, but we don't say 100 people can be a guest in a courtyard of one person. We don't do that.
What if it's a hotel, it's a Akhsania? The guy owns one and you have 50 guests coming in.
No, a hotel, they all rent. No, a hotel, they're all renting. It all belongs to one. It's one property. It's mine.
But that's because they own each
They own, yeah. They own. If you got 5 hotels, that's a problem.
Different.
Okay. So this is a case when one forgot. What happens if 2 people forget? Not only one person forgot. 2 people forgot. היו שניים ששכחו ולא ירבו. 2 people by the way, it's 2 or more, obviously. There were 2 people that forgot and did not make an Eruv, ושאר בני החצר שירבו ביניהם, ביטלו להם את רשותם שבחצר. And the other people said to these 2, okay, we give up our side in the thing. אוסרים זה על זה. It doesn't work this way. In other words, if you want to make it work, each individual needs to nullify his place in the courtyard. you cannot do it the other way. Because these two still own land, and they prohibit on each other the use of the courtyard.
Exactly.
שהרי מעתה החצר ששניהם היא, because now the courtyard belongs to both of them, והם לא ירבו, and both of them did not make an eruv. הילקח אסור להם להוציא מן הבתים, לחצר או להכניס מן החצר לבתים. They're not allowed to take from any house to the courtyard, or from any courtyard to any house. בגמרא מבואר, in the Gemara it says, שאפילו חסדר אחד מהם הוא ביטל את רשותו לחברו. What happens after everybody says, we give it to you, the courtyard, and then the one guy says, and I give after that, it was in 2 stages, and then one guy said, okay, I give you my courtyard to you. I give my share in the courtyard to you. It says, even then you won't be allowed to do that. Bitulam lo ho'il, the fact that after everybody nullified to both of them, he cannot nullify his part to his partner, שהרי האחד אסר על חברו, because it's already prohibited. It's already prohibited, it's too late. נמצא שהחצר עדיין ברשות כולם, ואין מועיל אפוא ביטול רשות של האחד לחברו. And therefore, if you nullify your part to your friend, it doesn't help. שאחד נותן רשות, because...
This is Rabbi, this is the token here. It's in a way that none of them did the Eruv.
None of them gave the food.
Case.
None of them gave the food. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
None of the two.
Yeah.
שאחד נותן רשות, and this is the rule. One is allowed to give permission, מבטל את רשותו לכל אנשי החצר האחרים. He's allowed to nullify his place to all the other people, שלא יראה ומל, ונוטל רשות מן הדיירים שערבים. He can also go the other way. He can take permission from all the other ones to take. שיכולים הם לבטל לו את רשותם. So if you're a singular, it can work both ways. In other words, you can give your property, or they can give their property to you. שניים, but when you got 2 people, נותנים רשות. שניים שלא ירבו, but if you have 2 people that did not give the food, מבטלים רשותם לדיירים. They're allowed to give their part to everybody else, שירבו, ואין נוטלים רשות, but they cannot take, ask from the other, but for them, because once they ask, now nobody is allowed to use. Once in the asking, they're asking something that is forbidden to be asked. ואין נוטלים רשות מן האחרים, but they cannot take permission from the others, שהדיירים שירבו ביניהם, because if that the other ones that we said that the 2 people after that make another agreement, אינם מבטלים רשותם לשניים שלא ירבו. They don't nullify the other people in the courtyard, don't nullify their courtyard to the 2 that did not make an Eruv. הואיל והם אוסרים זה על זה, because it's not going to help. They can't nullify because these 2 are already prohibiting the movement from the courtyard. כמו שבאנו לעיל, like we explained before. בגמרא אמרו, in the Gemara they said, שמבטל רשותו לאנשי החצר, that if you are making a bitul of your yard to the people of the courtyard, צריך לפרש שמבטל לכל אחד ואחד. It's not enough that you say, okay, it's all yours. It says, it's yours, and it's yours, and it's yours, and it's yours, and it's yours. You have to say each and every one.
David, Abraham Yosef,
that's right. To each and every one.